If you only filter everything, you're not giving people a true representation of who you are. And if you're not giving people a true representation of who you are, there is absolutely no way to truly connect. So that's the piece. Like if people can think about this, if they're listening and they're thinking, how do I improve my social media? Or how do I use prose writing to improve these posts I'm doing? It's that. Like, what's the arc here? Like, what is the actual story?
Hello, friend, and welcome. I'm Tammy Enfield, brand strategist, marketing expert, and creator of the Candid Content Framework. Through conversations with creators just like you and sharing stories from brands and thought leaders, we'll harness the power of authenticity and give you the confidence to create content that empowers you and your audience. If you're ready to build a kinder, more empathetic world, then you're in the right place. Welcome to the Candid Content Revolution.
Hey friends, so excited to bring Annmarie on to my podcast. Annmarie Boyle is a dear friend of mine. I often refer to her as one of my besties. I've known Annmarie for over a decade. I can't really remember the exact year. She was a client first, then friend, and then office mate, and we've both seen each other through quite a bit. She is an amazing writer. She knows the craft really well, but also can just tell a really good freaking story. She's, in terms of like dialogue between characters, she's very good. I would put her up there against any author, any best-selling author. So she's written a series of books. She's working on another. She's got a Substack. I learned so much from her. But in terms of what and how people can see themselves or learn about themselves through fiction, it's just been really great having those conversations with her. But I would say more recently, I've learned a ton about myself through fiction. And I believe the key to authenticity is a deep, deep knowledge of yourself, right? Like you have to understand yourself in order to be authentic. You have to know yourself. How do we get to know ourselves? Well, some of us go to therapy. Check, I do that. Some of us read a lot. Check, do that. Some of us write. Check, do that. Right? Like talk to people, take personality tests, whatever it is for self-discovery. Self-discovery that comes at you from the side, like we talk about, is fiction, through fiction. So to all my fellow book nerds, this one's for you. And enjoy my conversation with Annmarie. Annmarie, welcome to the Candid Content Revolution.
I'm excited to be here. I like anything that has to do with revolution. Well, mostly good revolution.
Annmarie and I go way back. I think we tried to figure out how far.
It's
over
got to
a decade.
I was going to say at least a decade, if not longer.
And she is my neurodivergent brainstorming friend. And we often find each other sending memes back and forth to try to describe how we're feeling for the day. And we also can dive into very deep conversations very quickly. So we will likely do that today. But Annmarie, I know you really well, but why don't you tell people listening who you are, what you do, and where you are right now in the world?
So I am in Minnesota along with our friend Tammy. I have lived in Minnesota most of my life. So I'm an upper Midwest girl. And as far as what I do to keep myself busy, I am a writer and an author. I write contemporary romance right now. I'm working on a women's fiction book, and I write at the junction of personal development and fiction on Substack, showing people how stories shape the way we think, we feel, we live. And I'm using references from the fiction books that I'm reading. So I think fiction can be the best personal development book we can buy.
Yeah, that's what we're here to talk about today, right? Fiction. Annmarie is probably going to be a regular. We need to find a cool name for our episodes. I was trying to find a cool name for my solo ones, and it was like Tammy Unhinged didn't really work. Tammy Unfiltered maybe did, but we'll have to come up with something.
Yeah, I don't know, like trying to come up with something funny off the top of my head here, and it's just not working.
No?
No, I mean, my coffee's not
I've stumped
completely
you?
gone yet today. You've stumped me.
I am currently doing a branding project with a client that I've done a few for already. So I know him really well. But, coming up with a new brand when you've done 4 for someone already is interesting. So we were talking about names and brand stories and like what we thought it could look like. And I told him, I was like, well, I heard Liquid Death started because the founders sat around the table and said, what's the most awful idea you could come up with? And they were like, I don't know, water in cans. And it worked. So I often am like, okay, guys, what's the worst idea we could come up with right now? Like, what's the dumbest thing we could come
I think
up
that's an excellent thing to ask because it breaks down people's need to have that perfect idea right out of the gate. It allows some imagination to flow, and you're just lowering a barrier to getting to what might be the good idea, because everybody can be silly and stupid. Most people are comfortable with that, but the weight of coming up, say, with that new name or a new slogan or whatever is, that can really stymie people.
So the dumbest idea we could come up with for our joint episodes here could be something about squirrel brains or
I like that. So something like, Scrat from Ice Age or something. I don't know.
My spirit animal, Scrat.
Yes, exactly.
When did you started your book in
2017? So I started my origin story that I tell everybody is my husband is an academic, and we have co-led many study abroad programs. I was actually with a different professor on this one, but I was in New Zealand and on a long bus ride, and I needed to write some nonfiction, and it wasn't coming. And I decided, well, just try some fiction to jog your brain. Like, this is your stupid idea. Like, what are your stupid ideas? And a couple hours in, I was 35 pages into this story that had been tossing around in my head for a very long time. But it took me from that first bus ride in 2017 3 years to get to the point where I really felt like I could move from my background. Before that was as a copywriter. So everything was about short and snappy and punchy. Well, that's not what fiction is about. So it took me a long time to really learn, even though I'd been writing in every job I'd had, to learn to get to that place where you really fell into the story. And the first book published then in November of 2020. Published most of the books during COVID. So it was also a different experience. I didn't do the book tours that authors do. I didn't get to events and things like that. So it has been quite the ride. So there's 5 books out now. That series is complete. And I'm excited to be working on, I think it's a standalone book, but I don't know yet.
Nonfiction for me comes easy. Not that I've published anything. I hope to someday. Coming up with a fiction story I'm a really creative person. I'm a great problem solver. I'm strategic. I'm visually, I think, really creative, but coming up with a story just to pull out of my whatever, it's just mind-boggling to me. And when you first started writing contemporary romance, I was like, oh, shit.
I have to read those books. You're not the only one who said that to me. Yeah.
Yeah, the contemporary romance. I was like, oh, I just don't like that genre of romance. Oh, at the time, I think I was reading some pretty heavy fiction, like women's fiction. And I still read a lot of really heavy stories. I think I learn a lot through those stories, especially for like experiences that I'll never have, or, maybe places I don't want to travel to or timelines I won't live in. But I learn a lot from fiction. I didn't really think about everything I had learned about myself through fiction until these last few years. And so many of my friends have found some of the ways they think about things or they think about their lives differently through some of these fiction stories. And most of the books that I've read in that genre have a female main character that is very strong. And
yes.
And then there's usually a main male character that is unlike any of us are married to.
It's funny you should say that. I think we should back up and say just one thing, that you actually did like the contemporary romance books. But so, I just got to plug myself here. You didn't go on to hate them,
yeah.
I don't think.
I'm sorry.
But
I was getting there, Annmarie. I'm getting there.
Just have to wrap it back to me. I do think, though, I had early beta readers to help me, find the typos and do different things like that. And I had one of the women send back a note that said, it's too bad that men like this don't exist in the real world.
Yeah.
And my heart just broke, because here's the thing. I am married to a fantastic human, has faults just like us all, but we have a good marriage. And I don't think it's an outlier. And so I think that some of that is maybe what the fiction can show you in that situation is, yes, are they idealized versions of men oftentimes? Sure. Not always. You have the alpha holes and, those types of things. But could it stop us to say, why am I reacting negatively to this isn't any man that I've ever known? Is that true? Or is it that you haven't found what you need or asked for what you need? So, you and I have talked a lot about this, that I think that fiction is a great way to learn about yourself, because it doesn't tell us how to live like personal development. It shows us lives being lived. So, and it's not prescriptive. It sneaks up on us and it presents the truth without forcing a lesson. But if you are reacting strongly to a character, to a situation, to whatever, it is a great time to stop and ask yourself why. I wrote, and one of my Substack articles was something like about the mirror effect, right? So that particular post was about the fact that there was a female main character that was absolutely driving me nuts. And so I had to, as a writer, I had to stop and say, okay, did the author just not hit it? Did she miss this character? Or is what she's doing annoying me because it's turning a mirror on me? And that was it, right? Like, she had some habits that I also have, this character did, that I don't really like about myself. And so, of course, I was annoyed with her. But it was a moment for me to take that story and say, what are you going to do about it? Why is this bothering you? Do you think that this is a realistic change you can make? And when you read fiction, it doesn't demand change. It just invites reflection. And so sometimes I feel bad. Like, I feel like, I can't achieve this, or here are the 10 steps, and my neurodivergent brain is certainly only going to allow me to do 3, because I'm not going to do 10. But with fiction, because you're so absorbed in the story, you don't get that ache.
Well, you're not looking for it.
Exactly.
I think with self-help books, you're looking for a solution to something that you've been feeling, or you've seen something in the author that you want to learn or want to become, and then you're looking for that. I think what surprised me the most about fiction lately is that, because you're not looking for it, but if you give yourself a hot second to sit and really think about either what you don't like about the book or what you really liked about the book, because you're right, if you're triggered, it's usually because of something like being reflected back to you. You can really pull some great lessons out of it. And tying this all back to authenticity, obviously, I think that in order to be truly authentic, you have to know yourself. Like, there's tools everywhere. We've all taken like Enneagram, YOS, DISC.
All the way down to Myers-Briggs, right? Which is technically a party game.
Yeah, all the things. It's all a lesson of you, right? Like, you're just excavating different things about yourself and then being able to put words to it. Fiction does that for us in a very abstract, or kind of comes at you from the side.
Yeah, it's emotionally distant, really, is what fiction is. And here's the 2 things that I know for sure in my plus 50 years is humans are wired for connection and they're wired for story. And so, what you do in your broader life with Brand Yourself, you're helping people craft those stories and connect with their possible clients or whoever they're reaching on various platforms. But it makes us feel, but it isn't a piece that it gives us some distance, because we think we're looking at it through the lens of someone else. Right. So it isn't like personal development. We're always looking at it through our lens of, who am I as a person? What am I doing? Or, unfortunately, what am I doing wrong? But if the story is written well, you are absorbed in it. So you are seeing all of that through that emotional distance. And so, so basically, said easily, it comes at you from the side.
Yeah.
So it's not full frontal on anything, which does help us see it.
Yeah. I do think with softer fiction, I didn't think I was going to learn as much because I didn't see myself in many of the stories.
Okay, so this is where I think that piece of connection comes in. And what I love about your books is that you write non-traditional heroines in there, right? Like they're oh my God, 40.
Scary.
Oh my God, they're geriatric. That word, but you see yourself, you had like anxiety was represented in one, panic attacks, like a mom, a single dad. Like there's people represented in your books that I can either hold a mirror up to for myself or I can see in real world. The 20 somethings that find love on a deserted island are really fun stories for some people to read, but not necessarily as realistic. And I think that's one of the things I really enjoyed reading about when I was reading your books is that a lot of the people, and you're right, like you're a great writer and can write dialogue and humor really well. And I find that I surround myself with more laid back people than me, right? Like I don't consider myself a very laid back person. So I have to surround myself with people that will bring the fun because I don't. But I could see those people represented in your books and it was refreshing.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I've been working on really some branding statements and how I want to carry this business forward, both the fiction writing and then also this Substack piece on the nonfiction side. And sentence came to me one day and it was, I write stories deep enough that matter, but light enough to carry. And I really feel like that is a strong mission statement for me because I absolutely want to give people a soft place to land at the end of a hard day. You've heard me use that saying over and over again over the last few years. Yes, it can be escapism, but it should also be this piece where we are seeing real things happening. Like a lot of my heroines have pretty fantastic jobs that may not be relatable, but the first heroine is dealing with grief. The second heroine is dealing with anxiety and panic attacks. The third heroine had her dream job taken away from her in extraordinary circumstances, and she's dealing with identity, right? So you can laugh and you can see this great love story, but you can also see these women who are struggling with no matter how great their job is or how great this man might be in their life, they are still walking through that space of finding themselves and understanding what they value and understanding how to love and how to accept love. So there's a lot. I think that's the thing that's underestimated about contemporary romance, particularly, I would say, in the last 10, 15, 20 years. I mean, we can go back to the 80s, 70s and 80s when we had the bodice rippers and the Fabio on the cover and all of this kind of thing. That's not what's being written right now. And that those trends even going into, say, the romantasy, whether it's ACOTAR or Fourth Wing or those types of things, we're still seeing those women grappling with real life issues.
And it's in the series, I've read both of those series. It's usually like a self-loathing piece that some of those women are dealing with and worthiness. And that, I struggle with both of those things, right? Like,
I think everybody does at some point in their life, right? Some of us more than others. Some of us with our, overactive squirrel brains keep coming back to that stuff. But everybody has those moments, and particularly women, because of the way we've been socialized and the way the culture is and, that type of thing. So if you get nothing else out of reading genre fiction, let's say, on fantasy, romantasy, romance, of all of it, it's almost every good book that I've read is a woman coming to terms with starting to ask for what she needs and then expecting it, right?
Yeah.
And I write heterosexual romance because that's what I know. But even I've read a fair amount of sapphic romance, and it's still that, right? It's still women learning to ask for what they want. And too many people think, oh, that's just in the bedroom. Well, certainly that can be in certain books, but it is the bedroom. It is the boardroom. It is with friends. Like my books all center around found family and how do you navigate those relationships and so forth.
Well, and you're really great at bringing that to the page and the book and the story arcs and the publishing world. I think we are missing the boat on social media in terms of showing up at all, right? Like, and especially showing up not necessarily unfiltered, but not polished. I think that there's such a desire for people to show up like they're self-editing online. And I try really hard. I'm so fucking proud of my kids. And it's Addison's senior year. And I was looking back at my Facebook post. I was like, oh, she clearly looks like the only child right now, if not the favorite. Poor Easton. She just has a lot going on. But in my shares, I try to talk about all the good things, all the awards and the state visits and stuff. But I made sure to talk about like, this is what you guys saw her in the paper. You saw her times. We know she's a great runner. She's athletic. But not many people were there for the race anxiety and for the injuries and for the depression and for, just. And I try to be really real in those stories of like, here's what's really great. And just know that like, it's not all roses. And I sent out a text the other day of like, okay, guys, I don't feel authentic online. And even I'm probably one of the more authentic people online that
Agreed.
anybody follows, right? And I still feel like I could do a better job of sharing more of what people could connect with, right? Like, I'm a business owner. I know of my broader friend group, let's just say 5 out of 50 are business owners. And like, people see that and they're like, oh, you've been on your own for 15 years. Like you have such a successful business. And I don't sometimes see it that way because cash flow could really suck or I lose a client or, and it's just.
Can I jump in?
Yes, please.
I think what you're saying here is the classic way that people will talk about when you're writing longer form prose, a book, is that if everybody's happy, the story is boring. And that's what we're seeing online. And that's why it's not connecting. Every story has to have an arc. So you have to show growth. You have to get invested in the character. The only way you get invested in the character is to know who they truly are. And that's good and bad. And you need both. We need light and shade. So when you're calling on people to be authentic through social media posts or even longer form content like Substack, or if you're still having a blog or newsletters, you want to show people that full character arc. And yes, I'm calling humans a character right here, and I understand that. But so there are days, let's use Addison. There are days where a couple days ago, her team broke a record that had been set years and years ago. That is an amazing thing. But what also happened is she was maybe super sad that her high school career was coming to an end, right? We need both, because if all you do is drop the negative shit online, which we see a lot of with the state of our country right now, people can't handle that either. That's hard on your psyche. But if you only filter everything like you're talking about, you're not giving people a true representation of who you are. And if you're not giving people a true representation of who you are, there is absolutely no way to truly connect. So that's the piece. Like if people can think about this, if they're listening and they're thinking, how do I improve my social media, or how do I use prose writing to improve these posts I'm doing? It's that. Like, what's the arc here? Like, what is the actual story? And could you do something that maybe it's not all in one post, maybe it's a week, maybe you know that you've had 3 ones that are celebrating the heck out of your kids, and then cash flow is hard at work, right? Show the dimension, like be a person. Like I do pages and pages of character development. I know where these characters went to elementary school. I've taken a Myers-Briggs test as the character. Like that's my process. And getting to know that character is why it comes through and people like those characters. Like, am I the best writer at this point in my career? No. I mean, I'm not going to put myself down, but these, I've written 5 books. This is not hopefully the pinnacle of my career. What I am good at is a character that somebody can invest in.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what you want to like. Am I showing up as a quote unquote character that somebody can invest in? And it absolutely cannot be done if it's either all negative or all positive. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's almost like you knew what I was trying to say, Annmarie. We have lots to talk about when it comes to storytelling, and Annmarie's an expert in storytelling. So I want to have her back on to talk about like pivot stories, right? And why not all of them have to be life altering. We don't
most of them aren't, actually.
And most of them are not. Like not all of us are, rags to riches or grew up in a trailer park with 75 cents to our name and became millionaire. But so I have you back on to talk about stories, but really what is so interesting to me, and I just want to tie it back to like the authenticity in fiction. Do you think made up stories or the fiction stories are in any way deemed authentic? Either if it's authentic to you, authentic to who people see themselves in, clearly it's made up.
It is made up, but it's coming from all kinds of personal experiences. Like people always ask you how much of you is in your character. And if an author's being honest with you, they're going to say there's bits and pieces of me scattered throughout. So there's just, whether it's something where, say, Grace in my first book is a songwriter and I'm a writer, so there's a connection. Then we move on to the next book and she works in radio, which I've also done, but deals with anxiety, which is something that I live with every day. So there's pieces of that all along. So the authenticity is drawing from personal experience. It's interviewing the right people. There's a lot of authors who go through deep interview process to get to know whether it be an industry or what it's like to live with, Crohn's disease or type 1 diabetes. I might just be listing all of my own conditions. Who knows? But, there are people that do that. So I think the idea that the stories are quote unquote made up, the situations are made up, but the stories themselves are all real. The brain has no capacity to tell the difference between fiction and quote real life. The only small nuance is one of the reasons you can read scary things and not feel scared sometimes is because the brain does still know you're sitting in a comfortable chair in your house. So you're experiencing something that, it's a way to test yourself, a way to push yourself against your triggers and really learn about it. So come back to the authenticity. I think that absolutely, if the stories aren't authentic, if they don't feel like real human emotion, if they don't feel like things we go through every day, then those books don't get read because people can't relate to them. They're the ones that get set down. And that is like the amazing thing in fantasy or science fiction or something like that. And they're the perfect examples of how those worlds don't exist, right? That we know of.
Right.
So somebody's living on the 18th planet from their own star, not called the sun. And, there's this class delineation, whatever it may be, but you can still relate to those characters. So if those characters weren't authentically moving through a life that we can feel, you wouldn't read the book. Humans are a little self-centered. They want to read about things that they can feel themselves. And that's where the authenticity comes in.
I run across a lot of clients who want to share everything online. Like most people hear be authentic and they think that they need to share everything. And, of course, I talk about sharing from the scar, not the wound, and making sure that you're not still triggered by it before you put it out online and all that stuff. But do you think you can be authentic and only share parts of your story?
100%. I think that if we're talking about, what you're helping clients with from a business perspective, there are people who are doing the best job, at least in my industry, are people who have, I hate this word, but have set boundaries, have created a brand, a personal brand. You might know something about that. But they've like Annmarie Boyle, the writer, and Annmarie Boyle, the person, are the same people. And I don't filter anything, but say you have small children and you want to show them. So you take the photo from the back of their head, or maybe you don't involve your children at all. Like we all get to decide what we show, but that doesn't necessarily make us authentic. It just means we've made smart decisions about what we're willing to share with other people and what we're not. And I think that if you're scared to do it, you got to explore that. If it's something where you've said, nope, this is the way I'm going to set up my personal brand, and I am super happy to talk about my marriage, but I'm not going to talk about my parents or my brothers and sisters because they didn't agree to this, right? So yeah, absolutely. Because at the core, what's authentic is the emotion behind it. And so it doesn't matter if I'm talking about my best friend T or my husband, Dr. J, or whatever it may be. If I'm not naming those people, I'm still sharing. Like I went with some friends last night and we had this great time and they brought up this piece and this really hit me. And so, yeah, I mentioned I was there with special people, but I didn't have to bring them into it. So those are the boundaries for me. Like everybody has to pick what those are.
Yeah.
But as long as the emotion is there, you're being authentic.
How do you, I mean, I'm going to answer this through empathy, obviously, is how you connect, right? Like that's where the emotion comes in. I don't think a lot of people are good at identifying the emotion.
Mm-hmm.
I do think digitally reflected, I think our energy comes through regardless of whether or not we intend some of it to or not. But if authenticity, if like the definition of authenticity, like if part of it is the emotion that's there, how do you know if you're doing a good job communicating that?
Other than, likes and shares.
Yeah. The vanity metrics that we all love.
Which I think are, you know this, and I'm sure you tell all your clients this too, that something that's really hard about writing in general, whether you're writing fiction or nonfiction or you're posting on social media, it can feel very vulnerable. And when you don't get those vanity metrics back, you think, well, why am I doing this? Or maybe that didn't connect, or did I share too much? Wherever you fall on that spectrum, I think we have to trust that done with the right intention, it's meeting someone where they're at. And if that's one person or it's 50,000 people, whatever it may be, if you are putting yourself out in a real authentic way, not in a, how will this sell more books? How will this, we all have to eat. We all want to make money. But I guess I don't think there's an answer. I think that it's a trust thing. Like, if I feel like I've put out something that feels like I've shared something authentic, and as you said, there is so many definitions to that it will hit someone.
Yeah.
And I wrote, my most popular post was one that was titled "Ease Isn't the Same as Easy." And I got several emails about it. My open rate is really good. So all those metrics, right? Whatever. But if 3 people sent me an email, then you got to know that 30 people
for sure
got something from it.
It's always the lurkers.
It is the lurkers. And I think it's super, super hard, right? When you're looking for reaction, response, sales, whatever it may be, or, you're hiring somebody and you're paying them to do this for you or help you with it, rather, you want those results, but it isn't
Always measurable.
It isn't. And if you constantly look at just the metrics, first of all, you're going to put out less authentic stuff, I believe. But you also are going to drive yourself absolutely crazy. I mean, I know that because I've done it.
Me too.
So many times, right? Like you're like, I mean, I can't tell you how many times I've even said to you, like the idea of feeling like I am talking to crickets, so deflating. So I've been trying to reframe that and move that into, did you put out something that you didn't just mail in? Is this something that you feel like has connection, shows your character, feels true to you? Then it's going to have to be good enough.
I like that you said it's the intention behind it. I do think that in my Candid formula, the intention behind something is always in like the creator portion of it. It is not, do I know my audience? Is this aligned with my freaking content pillars? Am I telling a story? It's in the, what am I hoping comes out of this post, other than, like you said, purchases, or the intention behind a post, the goal of the post, are you proud of what you're putting out? Do you like your own content, right? I do think that that's probably one of the pieces in all of content strategy that isn't highlighted as much as, do you know your audience's problems?
Yes. And you know what, I think that takes me back to, as I said before, that for years I ran a company called The Articulate Entrepreneur, and that was my copywriting company. Taught public speaking, everything around story. Like there's been thread through my life. But people, at least at the beginning of when I started to write website copy, people thought you needed to keyword stuff, right?
Oh, God.
And I kept saying, if that's what you want, I'm not the writer for you, first. And second of all, like, I don't think that that's what's going to grow your business. What's going to grow your business is you showing up on the page. And that's that intention.
Yeah.
Like, I don't care if you're building a house or if you're writing fiction or if you're helping people with message maps. Like, what's your intention in this business?
Yeah.
And that filters through in any copy that you write. And I'm going to use copy as part of writing social media posts. So it's, what's my intention with this, right? Or also, I think like we have such an idea that we need to be perfect, or we need to go viral, or we need to do all of these things. That pressure is not only not sustaining, but it pulls us away from our story arcs, from our who we are as a character, from keep wrapping this back to writing, but it really can't do it. And it's something I have to remind myself of all of the time. When you have a bad sales day, or you wish cash flow was flowing in a different way, or 3 people saw your post on Instagram because of the effing algorithms, it is like, energetically, what did you put out into the world? Just maybe is a better way to say it. Like,
Yeah.
if I put out a good post, be it Substack, be it on LinkedIn, be it on Instagram, whatever it is, and only 3 people liked it, maybe you just have to step back and go, my intention was good, the story was good, and it energetically put something better into the world, which God knows we need right now.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
And I stand behind it is not the people interacting with your posts that hire you or buy your book, or it is random people that have read something, followed something, saw somebody share something, that end up hiring, reaching out, buying, right? Like,
but sometimes you don't even know why. Like, I mean, our origin story is you gave a class on Facebook. I don't even know when that was. And I went to it. I think it was at Spur, which is, on our main street in our small town here. And it took me years to make the phone call to hire you the first time, right? But the only reason I would have done that is, yes, is it important for me to know that somebody knows their stuff? Of course. However, I think it's more about that energy connection, right? So there was something that led me back to you that maybe I couldn't even put my finger on, right? And that's that energy that you're talking about. Like, I have no idea how many people have bought a book of mine because they saw somebody post something on Instagram, whether me or say a Bookstagrammer or something like that. But you can't track that. No, there's just really no way. Whatever you want to say about, genius links and all kinds of things, there's really no way to track it. But there is a way to know that you're showing up authentically and you're putting yourself out there. And at some point, that connects with people, even if it takes years for them to get back to you.
But you have to know that within yourself. I think that's like the creator portion of the formula is, do I feel daring? Do I like it? And am I inspired by it? Right? Like, it's just, I think we forget about ourselves in the content, and that's why it always feels performative. Not always. Some people do it really well. Most of the time. People are doing it not because they want to. Not many people want to be on social, first of all. I don't know.
Yeah, no, you're right, though. I mean, you and I have talked about this a lot lately, and I've had a complicated relationship with social media since the beginning of time. But I think what it is I oftentimes wonder if more people were following what you're talking about, what we're talking about today, if social media wouldn't feel different to them. Because also it's, being on social media is not just about what you post, it's about what you're consuming. But if more people were showing up in a way of want rather than should, that is the place that I've at least finally allowed myself to get to, is as an independent published author, there's so many, like, you should be here because it's free. You should do this, the social media.
Be on TikTok because of Book Talk. You should be.
Right. I don't know that my readers are at Book Talk. Like my books might not be who that demographic is, type of thing. But yes, all the shoulds, oh my God, they will kill you. And then it makes it gross content because you're like, well, what am I gonna put up today? Like, one of the things I've also stopped doing, and this is just me, and it's not the right strategy for everybody, but I've really stopped scheduling posts. And I post, other than I'll schedule a post when a new Substack article is coming out because I know that's coming and I know how to talk about that. But I now post when something feels like I want to post about it. And it's still within my brand. It's still a business account. It is, if we're not going back to the beginning of social media where we're talking about eating cheese sandwiches or whatever it is, but it just feels so much better.
Yeah.
for me, to not feel like I'm forcing myself into a certain schedule or that type of thing. Because I know that I've put out some crap content that isn't authentically me, because every Tuesday there has to be a post at 1 p.m. But that doesn't work for everybody, right? Like, I have the time and flexibility to do that. Not all brands have that. And not all brands, the thing that you're really working on now with personal brands, those are the people that really need to put that authenticity and show up with who they are consistently.
And
Exactly.
what consistency can look different, like for everyone, right? Like, you're consistent in your Substack posts. That doesn't mean you have to show up all the time on Instagram, right? Like,
yes,
you're consistent to your own beat, right? And that's where I think people need to realize too, you don't have to post every fucking day.
If that's what you want to do and it's still in that authentic space, good on you. You go, girl. You know, that type of thing. But if you're forcing yourself to do it, it's likely not the kind of candid content that's going to.
Right. I'm going to take a picture of us because we're going to post this. Ready, Annmarie? There, take a picture. I'm going to share this part of my day because talking to you is always one of my most favorite parts of the day.
Me too.
I would love to sell some of your books. So where can people find them?
So all of my books you can find at AnnmarieBoyle.com. That is a direct site. So if you're a person who right now is thinking about how you want to support independent artists, go to that. Versus my books are available everywhere. You can get them on Amazon as well. But if you want to do that thing where you're skipping the billionaires and helping a little artist all at once, go straight there. And my Substack is AnnmarieBoyle.substack.com. And I'd love to have people join me over there as well.
Yeah, I love your articles. One just came out. I haven't read it yet. I got the notification though. Your stuff comes out Thursdays, right?
And you'll have to look because someone I know quite well took the picture that I used.
Oh, huh. All right.
Tammy and I have done several photo shoots together back when I, serial entrepreneur, back when I was doing a different business, and really been trying to use, let's wrap up the authenticity piece here is, I've been using stock photography and some AI generated things, what everybody thinks of that. We'll leave that out of that right now. But I've been trying to pull back and use photos that I've taken, you've taken, your staff has taken over the years. And so that it feels a little bit more authentically me.
Yeah, people can see you.
Yeah.
Is there a book you would recommend for people wanting to learn more about themselves through fiction?
Yeah, if you're not a writer, Lisa Cron has written a couple of books. They're really built for writers, but they're interesting from the standpoint of how humans are hardwired for story. One is called Wired for Story, and the other one is called Story Genius. Those are good books. There isn't a lot. I think that's why I wanted to jump into this that I'm aware of anyway. Obviously, there could be out there, but there isn't a lot where we have that crossover between story and fiction and personal development, or how you're doing that type of thing. There's been a lot studies done and so forth on how our brain processes story, but who wants to dive into academic journals?
Yeah. Is there a prompt that someone could journal with?
I put journal prompts in most of my Substack posts, so that's somewhere to go. I just pulled up one from the article that I wrote that basically it's titled Fiction, Helping You Understand Yourself Since, Forever.
Yeah.
It's the title of it. And the pieces in that one were, what truth about myself am I recognizing in these words? How does this story illuminate something I've been struggling to express? That's really about agency and figuring out how to hold and stand in your own space. And then the piece that I think that we don't look at enough is this one question said, what possibilities does this narrative open up in my own life? And I wrote a post about how we think that, well, that's all unrealistic. I'll never get there. This is a woman, the character in the book is winning an Oscar. Well, here's the thing. People win Oscars. Why not you? And it isn't for everybody, but we have to stop thinking about the fact that people like us don't achieve those things or that type of thing. So as you're reading this book, what possibilities might this narrative, this book, this story open up in my own life? So is it having a hard conversation with my brother? Is it asking for what I need at work? Is it, they don't have to be big. Is it like making me look at how I react to my child having a stressful day? All of those things, like little things, like we can pick those things out of even a story that may feel out of our reach. So I think that's a great question. What possibilities does this show? What a path might this illuminate for me?
So just think of the last book you read or the last story you listened to and try to reflect on that question. I think that's a good one. Well, thank you for being on.
Thank you for having me. I loved it.
Thanks, friend, for listening. My thanks to Brand Out Loud Design for their audio branding and sound design. If you enjoyed the show and want to share it with others, why not leave us a 5-star review? And remember to subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. You can also connect with me on Instagram at Tammy Enfield. And until next time, authentically yours. I'm Tammy, and this is the Candid Content Revolution.